Let's look at these examples one by one. We'll start with the special order decision. So a special order occurs when a firm has a one-time opportunity to sell a product or service. The orders are generally not a recurring order. So we need to look at the relevant costs. So we have this example. We normally charge $9 a t-shirt, but Alpha Beta Gamma has come to us and offered to pay $6.50 for a special order of 1,000 t-shirts. The relevant cost in determining whether this offer should be accepted. So we're going to look at the various costs involved with a t-shirt order. So we have the cost per unit, our variable costs. Then we have batch level costs of setup, inspection, materials handling, our fixed costs, and any facilities level costs, which are also all fixed. So our total cost equation is $5.05 per unit of variable cost plus $200 per batch plus $450 in fixed costs. The costs that are not relevant to our decision is the $450,000 in fixed costs. We have to pay that $450,000 in fixed facilities level costs regardless of whether or not we take the special order. So what is relevant are the variable costs of the order and the batch level costs for the order. So the relevant cost for one batch of 100,000 units is the unit level cost of $5.05 per unit and the batch level cost for setup, inspection, materials handling. So our total relevant costs are $5.25 per unit. So if we look at that, our sales of $6.50 per unit and our relevant cost of $5.25 per unit, we have a contribution of $1.25 per unit. And therefore, if we have excess capacity, we would have a short-term benefit of an additional $1,250 to our pre-tax operating income. So in this case, if nothing else is different, we should accept that special order. Of course, in order to make an informed decision, we also need to consider other factors. One, are we producing at or near full capacity? If the answer is no, then we're probably okay accepting this special order. However, if we are already producing at or near capacity, then we need to consider any opportunity costs. So what might happen if we halt normal production to take on this order? Then what lost sales are we losing because we were already at or near capacity? Another thing to consider is it really a one-time special order? If it's only a one-time special order, then we're going to be okay. However, if it happens on a regular basis, or if other customers find out about it and they demand special prices, what can that do to our long-term profitability? We also have our long-term price structure of the firm in that if we accept the special order price one time, as I said, that it's only meant to be an infrequent thing and not something that happens over a long period of time. Our next example is a make or buy decision. So what we're looking at is which parts do we make internally and which parts do we purchase from an outside supplier. Very similar to a special order decision. So we're currently manufacturing the mouthpiece for a clarinet. However, we have the option to buy from an outside supplier. Our fixed overhead costs will not change, so we have unavoidable fixed costs. Our relevant costs then are that we have it costs $24 to buy the mouthpiece from an outside vendor, or it is $27.50 to manufacture. Our total relevant costs are $21.50. The per unit savings from continuing to make this are $2.50. Because we have unavoidable fixed costs that we have to pay no matter what, the relevant costs or the difference in the options are those variable costs. We would have to pay, if we look at the cost to buy the mouthpiece plus the $6 in unavoidable fixed overhead, it would actually cost us $30 to buy the mouthpiece versus our $27.50 to manufacture it. So the manufacturing is cost effective, but we also have to consider other strategic things, such as the quality of the part, reliability of the supplier, and other potential alternative uses of plant capacity before we make that final decision. So if, for example, they could buy from an outside supplier and increase their capacity to make finished clarinets, they might actually make more money by outsourcing in that instance. Now we're going to look at a lease or buy example. So instead of whether to make or buy an item for the firm, we might need to decide whether to lease or buy that item. So in this example, we have a copier that is not available for lease but must be purchased. It's $160,000. The purchased copier is useful for 1 year. Then we can sell it back to the manufacturer for $40,000. In addition, the new machine has a required annual service contract of $20,000. Should we purchase the new copier or renew the lease on our current copier? So we have information here. We have an annual lease of $40,000 and we pay 2 cents per copy with an expected number of copies per year of $6 million. Then we have the purchase cost of $160,000, an annual service contract of $20,000, and value at the end of the period. We can use CVP analysis from Chapter 9 to calculate our indifference point. So our indifference point is the annual volume level where the annual lease cost equals the annual purchase cost. So our annual fee is $40,000 plus 2 cents per copy. And the purchase cost is $160,000 minus the $40,000 plus the $20,000 a year service contract. Therefore, our indifference point is 5 million copies per year. What that indifference point tells us is that at 5 million copies per year, the lease and the purchase have the exact same value. It's lower than our expected annual machine usage, so we should purchase the machine if strategic factors such as quality of copy, reliability of the machine, and benefits and features of the service contract are favorable. So the cost to lease the copier versus the net cost to purchase the copier after trade-in plus service contract. They cross each other at 5 million copies. Since we plan to create more copies than 5 million, it would actually cost us more money to continue to lease the copier than to purchase one. The next decision we look at is whether to sell a service or product at its split-off point or process it further. In this example, we have an equipment malfunction. So we have 400 t-shirts that are not acceptable. We can sell them as is for $4.50 each, or run them through the printing process again. The cost of running the shirts through the printer a second time is a variable cost of $1.80 per shirt and the cost of one setup. So the decisions to sell before or after additional processing look at the joint production process, the split off point, any joint production costs, and the separable processing costs. So we have our revenue. If we reprint, we can sell it for the full price of $9, or we can sell as is for $4.50. Our relevant costs are those additional costs that we have to factor in to reprint. So we will have an additional $1.80 variable plus one setup. Therefore, our advantage to reprint is $880. We see that we'll actually make more money if we fix them and sell them at full price rather than if we sell them as is to a discount store. Any further things that we have to consider are, how does this affect the sale of t-shirts in retail stores? How does this affect our capacity? If we take the time to reprint 400 shirts, does that hurt anything else? Would the lesser quality of these t-shirts affect our competitive position in the long run? What is the cost of packing, delivering, and sales commission between the two types of sales, etc.?